How do animals know it's going to rain before it happens? Before a single cloud rolls in? Before a human being standing in the same spot would notice anything at all? In April 2014, a small population of golden-winged warblers was sitting on nests in the Cumberland Mountains of Tennessee. Then, 1 to 2 days before anyone on the ground knew what was coming, every one of them left. They flew south, away from their nests, away from their territory, 500 miles in some cases, and they kept flying until a historic tornado outbreak, 84 tornadoes, 35 deaths, tore through the exact stretch of land they'd just abandoned. Once the storm passed, they turned around and flew home. No dark sky yet, no wind, nothing you or I would have caught. So what did they actually sense? Start with something smaller and closer to home. The bees in your backyard. Long before a storm arrives, air pressure starts to drop. It's a slow, invisible shift, hours ahead of the first cloud, and bees respond to it like a countdown. Researchers tracking honeybee and bumblebee colonies found that as pressure falls, foraging bees don't scatter randomly. They make one last hard push, grabbing as much nectar and pollen as they can, and then, all at once, they head home. Beekeepers know the pattern well enough to set a clock by it. When the hive suddenly empties out of nowhere, rain is coming. Under the water, something even stranger is going on. Catfish have a chain of tiny bones connecting their swim bladder directly to their inner ear, a structure called the Weberian apparatus. It exists to let them hear. But a swim bladder is just a gas-filled sac, and gas-filled sacs are extremely sensitive to changes in surrounding pressure. So when the barometric pressure drops ahead of a storm, that same hearing structure picks up the pressure shift as clearly as it picks up sound. Anglers have long noticed channel catfish go into a feeding frenzy a day or two before a front moves through. The fish aren't predicting weather. Their ears are just wired to a sac that doubles as a barometer. Then there are frogs, using a completely different channel, their skin. Frog skin is permeable, built to breathe and absorb moisture directly from the environment. That makes it extremely sensitive to humidity, and humidity climbs well before rain actually starts falling. As the air gets wetter, a frog's skin responds by producing more mucus. Its lungs work differently, and its call changes. Louder, more frequent, easier to project. Scientists have also found that the sound of distant thunder itself, heard long before any rain reaches the ground, is enough to trigger a wave of calling and movement toward breeding sites. So, pressure sensors, hearing bones repurposed as barometers, humidity-reading skin, all real, all documented, which makes it a good moment to talk about the one everybody already believes and nobody has actually proven. You've heard that cows lying down in a field means rain is coming. It's one of the oldest weather sayings there is, but when scientists have actually gone looking for a connection between cow posture and incoming weather, they haven't found one. Cows lie down to rest, to chew their cud, to cool off, to get away from flies, for dozens of reasons that have nothing to do with the barometer. It's a coincidence that got repeated so often, it turned into a fact. The real early warning systems were never the obvious ones. Here's the pattern underneath all of it. None of these animals evolved a storm sense. Nothing about a bee's body developed specifically to forecast weather. What actually happened is simpler and, honestly, more interesting. Pressure sensitivity, keen hearing, moisture-reading skin, these all evolved for completely different jobs. Flight control, predator detection, basic respiration, and a falling barometer, rising humidity, or the infrasound of a distant supercell just happened to be physical signals that ordinary biology was already built to pick up. The animals aren't reading a forecast. They're using the senses they already had for survival, and the weather happens to leave a trace in exactly the range those senses cover. We built barometers and radar to do on purpose what most animals have been doing by accident this whole time. The warblers that fled Tennessee in 2014 came home once the storm had passed, settled back onto the same ridgelines, and went right back to nesting. as if the 1,500-kilometer detour had never happened. If this is the kind of thing that makes you look at an ordinary backyard differently, subscribe. This channel exists to keep noticing what's actually going on around animals we walk past every day.